the humble hedgehog. Secretive, snuffling, and with a very special place in British hearts. In my childhood, they were a common presence in our night gardens, but in recent years, they've suffered catastrophic challenges. This, though, is a time to celebrate our favourite nocturnal mammal and think of ways of giving them a helping hand. Over the next hour, we'll meet Moonbeam, Russell, Claude, Maggie, and baby Natalie.
And the most beautiful face.
I'll be hands-on with the hogs at one of the UK's top hedgehog rescue centres. You're asking me to listen to a hedgehog. There'll be rescues.
Let's hope that he does pull through.
And medical issues.
I think there is a little fracture here.
We'll meet Grandma Hedgehog and her hog brood.
I love them to bits.
And then there's Derek.
His spine started falling out.
And we'll show you how to make your garden hedgehog friendly. This is like Big Brother, but for hedgehogs. I'm driving through Windlesham in Surrey, which is officially the UK's first hedgehog-friendly village. And the rescue centre that's behind this whole initiative was set up by none other than rock god Dr. Brian May. I have to admit, I'm a little bit starstruck. Rock legend Brian May is also a leading inspiration in animal welfare. In 2009, along with wildlife rescuer Anne Brummer, he set up the Save Me Trust, named after one of those famous Queen songs, to help British animals. But with hedgehog numbers on a rapid decline, last year Brian and Anne launched Amazing Grace, specifically to help the hogs. Hi Brian, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
See you.
Nice to see you, Steve.
Rock legend to hedgehog hero. How did that happen?
Oh, no, I'm not a hero. I just do what I can. I mean, if I hadn't met Anne Brummer, none of this would have happened. I had the will in my life. I always felt for animals, but I didn't have any skills, and I didn't have any knowledge, really. And because I'm well known, I'm able to have an effect out there. And so it's good to use notoriety to good effect, I think. All kinds of people in the public eye talk a lot about the extinction of tigers. The hedgehog in our own country is declining at roughly the same rate as the tiger is. So you have to think, you know, we should be really dealing with what's on our doorstep first.
Run us through some of the problems that you're seeing with the hedgehogs that are brought in here.
This is a hard time of year for them because many of them will be coming out of hibernation. So many of the hedgehogs that come in here are dehydrated. They need water, so if you're going to put something out for them, put a dish of water out. A lot of them come in poisoned with slug pellets, and yes, they'll say some of these slug pellets are organic or whatever, but they still kill things.
I guess hedgehogs are nature's gardeners, aren't they? They
Yes.
feed on a lot of the creatures that we would consider to be pests.
Absolutely,
And anything that you put into your garden that's targeting those pests is going to end up targeting things like hedgehogs.
Absolutely right. Yeah, what you want is loads of hedgehogs in your garden.
So who have we got here?
We have a little hedgehog called Maggie. She probably doesn't know she's called Maggie, but that's what we call her, because they all have names here. She came in not in great shape, but now is in fabulous shape. I mean, this is the shape that a hedgehog should be.
It is that perfect spherical ball of bristling wonderment that is kind of how a hedgehog should look.
That's right.
But here we've kind of got the other side of the story, haven't we?
This little guy's called Luca, and you can see he's quite a lot thinner. You know, he's fully grown, but he's kind of more like a rugby ball shape than a round shape. If you find a hedgehog, don't assume that he needs relocating. If he looks like this one, nice and fat and round, leave him alone. If he looks emaciated and a bit poorly, then find a wildlife centre.
So it's not just Brian who's fallen for the charms of the humble hog. All over the country, there are people doing their bit to protect nature's gardeners. While many people dedicate their time to helping the hogs, in Orthorpe, Lincolnshire, there's one lady who's devoted her entire life to them. Elaine Drury even calls herself Grandma Hedgehog.
I have up to 100 hedgehogs in at any time, so they start off in the house. Well, it was a house, it's now a hedgehog sanctuary, more or less. I just have to live along with them. And in here, they're assessed and diagnosed, so it doesn't look a lot like a house anymore. I have hedgehogs in the spare bedroom, the bathroom. This is the television room, and it now serves as intensive care for the hedgehogs, a pharmacy, but it's all right. I don't mind. I like the company of hedgehogs. I'm absolutely addicted to them.
Elaine rehabilitates sick and injured hedgehogs for eventual release back into the wild. But due to their nocturnal nature, she often sacrifices her sleep to care for her brood.
In a lot of cases, their life depends on my sitting up more. Now, that's why I look like this, you know, I'm only 21. and often don't go to bed for, you know, weeks on end. You get to think like a hedgehog, really, I suppose. You know, I don't think like a human anymore. I think I see the world from a hedgehog's eyes, and it helps to understand them. I love them to bits, but hedgehogs aren't affectionate, and if they had any affection, it certainly wouldn't be extended to nurse Elaine.
It's not just the cost to Elaine's sleep. She relies on her pension and donations to care for hundreds of prickly pals every year.
We usually have about 50 or 60 hedgehogs in here, and this little chap was badly strimmed.
Many of the hedgehogs under Elaine's care have had excruciating encounters with a common garden tool. Their spines are no match for strimmers, which can cause horrendous and potentially fatal injuries. So, to avoid casualties, check for wildlife before strimming your bush, hedge or lawn.
His nose has been strimmed. It couldn't have been much worse than it was. It was hanging off, but with his nose hanging off, he was trying to eat some dinner. And I thought, well, if he's going to fight for his life, I'll help him.
Another victim of the strimmer hazard is Russell.
This little chap's got quite a story to tell. Somebody delivered him to be put to sleep because he looked like a skinned rabbit, but it was so newly done, we sent him off to the vets to be stitched back together. His prickles were down each side like somebody's pants around their ankles, but they sewed him together too tight, which means that his prickles, instead of being round him, are like a beret perched on the top. No way can he protect himself. He can't get into a ball. No way could he go back out into the wild. We have to put notices on to any helpers not to overfeed him because he's too big already for his skin. But I'm afraid he's a favourite.
To celebrate our prickly neighbour, the humble hedgehog, we are travelling the country, meeting people who have dedicated their lives to helping out the humble hog. While I planted myself here at the Amazing Grace Rescue Centre to get a sense of the challenges they face. The centre rescues around 750 hedgehogs every year, and one lady who's crucial to helping them is Anne Brummer. She's hands-on with the hogs, giving them around-the-clock care. Today I'm going to help Anne treat Kester for lungworm and Layla for ringworm, both common problems for hogs. Hi Anne.
Hi Steve, how are you?
Very well, very well. Where is the patient?
Kester is just here.
And what do we know about this little fella?
Well, he came in after a road traffic accident, but if you listen carefully, you can hear he's got a bit of a wheeze.
She's just doing this to make me look silly. You're asking me to listen to a hedgehog.
Look, listen. It's like a shell. Can you hear? It's got like a little bit of a crackle.
Maybe I haven't quite got my ear in yet. So what do we think that wheeze is caused by?
It's caused by lungworm. It's fluids that are in the lungs. So in the long term, that would just fill up and it would suffocate him. I'm going to give him a couple of injections, which he's not going to be over enamoured with. Yeah, if you can hold him. Okay. You okay there?
Yeah.
I'm just going to get him in the back here. He won't feel them. They're very thin needles.
Well, this one is a properly hyperactive hedgehog.
Very busy.
I can't keep him still. Maybe we should move to our next patient.
Yes, so we'll move to our next patient who might be a little quieter.
Oh, this is much bigger.
Yes, and Layla is a lot less tolerant.
A lot less tolerant?
A lot more huffy.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of a defence thing, and you can see the spines are turning out quite sharply. And
oh, now that one I can hear breathing.
Yes.
That's now, quite an angry breath.
Yes, it is an angry breath. That is definitely angry hedgehog.
What an amazing sound. Isn't that incredible?
It's really cool, isn't it?
I have never heard that before. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem quite so helpless anymore, does it? Right, so what's the plan?
We're going to put her in there, upside down.
Are we going to bath a hedgehog?
Yes, we are going to bath a hedgehog.
Oh, do you know what? I love my job so much.
It's going to be tricky because she's going to jump, because obviously she doesn't forget that this is a good thing for her.
So why are we giving this girl a bath?
She has ringworm, so she came in with lots of her spines missing and patches where the spines had fallen out.
And what's in this bath?
It's imaverol, and it kills off... Ringworms live on the surface, they don't live deep in the skin, so it's quite easy to resolve.
And of course, hedgehogs don't really have any aversion to water. I mean, they can swim, can't they?
Swim incredibly well.
In fact, in the wild, hogs have even been known to cross rivers. But if you do have a pond or a swimming pool in your garden, make sure you have an escape route to prevent them from drowning. Well, if her attitude is anything to go by, then this one's going to be it's going to be a fighter.
Definitely. That's one of the things on release with all the animals. You want to see them removing themselves away from you, being scared of humans.
Yeah.
And you need to see that fight and that desire inside them. And then you know you've got a pretty healthy animal to go back out there. So we're going to try and open her up just a little bit, see if we can make her a little less grumpy.
Come on, Grumpy. While we attempt to cheer Layla up, in the Hertfordshire countryside, there's a special hog who some may think has a right to be grumpy. Meet Derek. He's lost all of his signature spines, and this is his devoted carer, Monique Blackford.
He looks all rough and bobbly, but actually it feels like silk when you touch him, like a baby's bottom. He's got very curly nails, which I have to trim.
Derek hasn't always been so peculiar. He was a regular-looking hedgehog before a nasty incident.
He had an injury where it looks like he'd been attacked by a crow, and this injury was covered by the spines. It took several attempts to different antibiotics to get the wound to heal, and then in mid-December his spines started falling out. By February he hardly had any, and he's losing the pigment from his nose, and his feet all going pink now. We had a skin biopsy done for him in 2016, and that showed that it was a hormonal problem, possibly linked to stress, environmental stress, because a hedgehog should be roaming miles a night and foraging.
In an attempt to get Derek's spines to grow back, Monique has constructed a hedgehog playpen in her spare room. But this isn't Derek's only perk.
I was giving him massages with coconut oil to try and stimulate hair growth. And now, because he's indoors, to stop his skin getting dry from the heat, once a week I put almond oil on him. But if I do it for too long, he starts bucking.
Derek used to have a full complement of spines. An adult can have up to 7,000. They're stiffened with keratin, much like our fingernails, and sprout just hours after birth. Each spine lasts around a year, then drops out and a replacement grows. This thick and spiny coat provides an awesome layer of protection and defense. If alerted to danger, they'll curl up and protect their soft, furry stomach. Without this armour, it's too dangerous for Derek to return to the wild. So Monique has come up with the next best solution: a trip to the bird-proof fruit cage in her garden.
Because he's bald, he's vulnerable to owls at night. This is the sort of area that Derek will have where he can do natural hedgehog things. Derek looks a little bit like a hippo with no spines. He can't keep warm like a normal hedgehog. Obviously, when the nights get colder again, I'll be bringing him back in, but hopefully he'll have a good few months out here. When he spends time out here during the summer, there's every chance that maybe his spines will grow back.
Back at the rescue centre, Anne's got word of a hedgehog that needs urgent help.
We've just had a call from a lady who's found a hedgehog, so we're just going to go and pick it up from her and find out some more details. The lady's told me that she found it out when she was walking her dog in the daytime, and that it was on the side of the road, just kind of slumped over. The fact that it was out in the day is quite a serious issue.
Jenny Whitting found the hedgehog yesterday.
Here, darling. Hello.
She's been keeping it warm, well-fed and watered.
Hello, Anne. Hello.
Hi, Jenny. How are you? OK, let's take a look at you. bless him, look.
Oh, yes.
You can see the spines are a bit slow at responding.
Yes,
so
yes.
that suggests he's dehydrated. There's a tick there and there's a couple of ticks
Oh,
on
he's
the
got a
inside.
couple- I've-
Also got a foot that's caught there.
Oh, really?
Now, I don't know whether there's anything happened to his foot, but
Oh, dear.
we'll look as soon as we manage to uncurl him.
Oh, bless him.
And the size of the spines, I tell that this is a late baby from last year, probably September, October
Oh,
time.
really?
It would have been
Really?
born, so not a very good start in life, but actually done
No.
well to survive the winter. Well, thank God for people like you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love them.
Anne cares for hundreds of animals every year, so knows that the little hog's unresponsiveness is serious. And back at the centre, it needs urgent rehydration.
OK, so I'm putting subcutaneous fluids into his body now. It's a really fine syringe, it's a 1 ml syringe, because he's quite tiny still, and it just literally goes under the skin. But it'll give him vital fluids into his body. Rehydration is essential for all our wildlife. Once they go into shock, all their vital organs are protected by the little energy that they have, and it wouldn't enable them to repair. By rehydrating them, we get the body back to functioning normally, and then it enables them to recover. Then we can look at any other issues that might be underlying, but first of all, we've got to stabilise him. We're doing everything we can, so let's hope that he does pull through.
All hedgehogs are precious. Once flourishing, hogs are now in serious decline. They've been around for longer than the saber-toothed tiger and woolly mammoths, so they're tough little creatures that deserve to be here for many years to come. But they need help. And in Regent's Park, Claire Bowen from the Royal Parks Foundation is fronting a team of over 100 volunteers to help the hogs. Tonight, I'm lending a hand.
It's about now that they really should be thinking of coming out looking for food and foraging. So let's head this way and walk north towards the top of the park.
Fantastic. To help us find the hogs, we're using a thermal imaging camera, and keeping tabs on them is crucial. Hedgehogs were once a common sight in all central London parks, but now there's just one breeding population left that we're looking for here in Regent's Park.
So, what do we know already about the population of hedgehogs here in Regent's Park?
Well, we've been surveying them for 4 years, and in the very first year we were pleased to find around 50 animals distributed in several hotspots throughout the park.
And 50 animals, is that a healthy amount to have here, do you think?
It's still really quite a small number, to be honest, and the park this size could sustain many more animals.
Oh, hang on, what is that? Moving towards the bottom of that tree. See that little dot moving right to left?
That's
it's
quite
too fast for a hedgehog.
That
That's
could be
probably
a
cat.
or a fox.
Or a fox?
Yeah.
Nice to know there is wildlife in London's parks, though.
In Claire's survey, when hedgehogs were found, they each had a small ID tag slipped onto their spines, and some were also fitted with a tracking device. But tonight, luck is on our side, and all we need is our thermal imaging camera.
Just down here at our feet.
I never ever tire of finding hedgehogs.
I know. Isn't it wonderful? It is such a magical moment. Hey there, little fella.
There you go. Great. First of all, if we could identify exactly what number is written on that spine.
189.
189.
Place it into the bag. 590-ish grams.
Yes, the average weight of hedgehogs that we found throughout the year here has been more like 900 grams. It's still young, there's still time, but it could do with fattening up a bit.
I guess it could be that it's just kind of come out of hibernation and still lacking those fat reserves.
Yes, absolutely.
Hedgehogs spend on average 5 months in hibernation to conserve energy during the food shortages of winter. Their body temperature falls from 35 to 10 degrees, their heart rate decreases to less than 20 beats per minute, and an hour can elapse between breaths. When they emerge from hibernation, hedgehogs have often lost up to 25% of their body weight.
All these long hours out in the park at night, how is that helping to actually protect hedgehogs like little 189 here.
We've been focusing a lot on the hedgerows in the parks, and rather than mowing right up to the base of the hedgerow, just leaving a headland of longer grass so that they do have the opportunity to forage there in relative safety. The idea really for us is to try and understand more about the population so that the park managers can adjust the way they do things and think in a hedgehog-friendly way.
Hopefully this young male will go on to find females and help repopulate the Regent's Park hogs. Now more than ever, babies are vital to the survival of their species. So during breeding season at Amazing Grace Rescue Centre, all the females are given pregnancy scans.
So in early pregnancy, a baby will basically look like a black circle, a fluid-filled bag, basically. I think she might be fat. That might be my diagnosis. Oh, although, hang on, that is a baby. On this screen you can see a couple, so 1, 2, possibly 3 down here. See, she's not fat.
In the wild, only around half of the babies born make it to their first year. So if there is a hedgehog with hoglets, instead of being released into the wild, they'll go into a safe enclosed area to give birth. They'll stay here until both mum and babies are fit and healthy enough to return to the wild. But some babies don't have such a great start in life.
This is Natalie. She came in last night. She was found under a railway sleeper. We could see as soon as she came in that she was really, really badly dehydrated and probably hadn't seen a mum for at least 24 hours. Her body had already started to shut down, which means all the energy that she has in her body would be protecting the vital organs. She wouldn't have survived another night. She was very flat and very weak yesterday.
If Natalie had stayed with her mum, she and her siblings would nurse for around 3 to 4 weeks. Then they'd start heading out on family foraging trips. Hoglets, like most babies, have bundles of energy, but mum only has to put up with the unruliness for around 10 days. Then her teaching is done, and the hoglets will go it alone, leaving her to put her paws up. But if you can't have mum, Anne makes a pretty good substitute.
So I'm massaging her a little bit. Her skin can be quite dry, so this baby oil helps. But obviously if it gets dry and flaky, it can be sore. So it is quite an important thing to do. But it's a little bit of a spa treatment. So cute. And the most beautiful face. So I'm very happy, Natalie.
Once a familiar sight in British gardens, it's thought there are now fewer than 1 million hedgehogs left here. These adorable little creatures are in danger, but there are things that you can do to help them survive. All over the country, hog enthusiasts are doing their bit to protect them, and rescue centres like Amazing Grace, that was set up by rock legend and British wildlife enthusiast Dr. Brian May, are essential in helping the hogs.
Do you remember the first time you saw a hedgehog?
Yeah, I used to have hedgehogs around me at home in Feltham. They were quite regular visitors, and we used to put a saucer out with milk in it, and a bit of bread as well, which we now know is totally the wrong thing to do.
Please don't listen to a word he's saying here. Do not give your hedgehogs milk.
Don't do this.
Yeah, turns out hedgehogs are lactose intolerant.
What should people saying these things, isn't it? You can put cat food out, or dog food, or nuts and raisins and stuff, you know, anything healthy. I think it's good to put some food out because they're in trouble, these creatures. They really are, you know, they need a bit of help. These guys have been around much longer than humans in the British Isles, you know, 15 million years you're talking about. I mean, way, way longer than us. So they have a very, very good right to be here and to thrive, I would say.
There are 16 species of hedgehog. Those native to the UK are the European hogs, and they're the only spiny mammal found in Great Britain. Driven by their sense of smell, these little creatures can climb and run surprisingly fast. We're talking 6 miles an hour. But this isn't always quick enough to escape danger.
Hello, Amazing Grace.
At the rescue centre, Natalie has received a call about a hedgehog with a severely damaged leg that needs urgent medical attention. The veterinary practice is just up the road, and all the vet's time and care is given for free. Richard is ready and waiting.
Hi, Hi, Richard.
Hiya.
So I've got my little hedgehog.
Okay.
She was found in a lady's garden. She brought her in this morning. She said she was eating, but she hasn't eaten with us, so I don't really know if she's eating or not.
Okay.
The leg is either dislocated or broken, but we're not quite sure.
Yep.
She's got a puncture wound, and we're presuming it's really infected because it's so swollen and it's really hard.
Okay, so it's very swollen. Could be trauma, it could be a bite. I guess our fear would be a dog or a fox or something, which would potentially cause a break, or a fight between rival hedgehogs. I'm just going to put a needle in there to see what we do get back. And there we go. So it just looks like a large abscess.
I'm really shocked. I was convinced it was going to be broken. So it's kind of the best possible outcome, really. Because sometimes it just isn't a happy ending. So it's nice to kind of think the worst and then actually be proven wrong.
It's quite a large abscess. There's going to be quite a bit of pus.
Yeah.
When Richard says quite a bit of pus, what he actually means is loads of it. So if you're a bit squeamish, then look away now.
Perfect.
It doesn't smell particularly pleasant. I'm afraid there's a lot more still to come. You would hope she would survive in the wild. You would hope this would rupture of its own accord and drain, and her immune system would be able to fight things off. But you would be worried about how debilitated she is, whether she can get around, whether she starts to get a little bit toxic. We're here to kind of speed that up. You know, they are able to cope with a lot, much more than our kind of pets tend to do. Well, I think that'll about do.
Yeah.
We'll start some antibiotics and you can continue the pain relief.
Yeah, brilliant.
She seems in pretty good condition, apart from the abscess, and I'd be hopeful that she'd make a pretty quick and full recovery.
Thank you. She'll come straight back with me.
When this little girl is well enough, she'll be taken into an outside enclosure at the centre to prepare her for life back in the wild. But sadly, this isn't the case for all rescued hedgehogs. In the New Forest in Hampshire, meet Moonbeam.
We discovered that she's totally blind. When we try and get close to her eyes, there's no response whatsoever.
Leander Johnson rehabilitates hedgehogs in the back of her garage, and Moonbeam arrived 5 months ago.
She was brought in by a member of the public who found her in a fence post hole, and it was probably about a 2-foot hole, so it's quite a severe drop for a hedgehog. She'd been down there probably some days, so she came in with quite severe neurological damage. She was doing a really drastic shake. She was a pretty lost cause. That night, I thought she was going to have to go to the vet and it would not be a good ending. But we gave her painkillers and some fluids, and the next morning she was a little bit better. And she's just done amazingly.
Not knowing whether it's day or night means Moonbeam is active during the day, leaving her extra vulnerable to predators.
So what we've got to do is release her into an enclosed garden so that she can have a bit of the wild life and be out of a box, but she's enclosed so that somebody can really take care of her and look after her. She's definitely ready to go.
Moonbeam might be blind, but all hedgehogs have limited vision. They can see outlines of objects like trees and recognise landmarks and buildings. For hedgehogs, though, it's all about their sharp hearing and keen sense of smell. Their moist noses can detect dinner as well as danger at a distance. Moonbeam is already sniffing out her new outdoor enclosure in the back garden of volunteer Jenny.
What she's doing now is she's literally, her nose is going mental, so she's kind of just scent mapping. And this is awesome because we never get to see this bit because it's always at dusks.
Yeah.
When she arrived and she was this little ball of tremors and it was awful to watch, and now she's come to this amazing space and she's gonna love it. She's having so much fun, so it's just amazing.
Years ago, it was common to spot a hedgehog in your garden, but now it's thought nearly half of us have never seen one on our lawn. But encouraging hedgehogs to visit is easier than you might think. Ali North is one of only 4 hedgehog officers in the UK, and an expert on making gardens hedgehog-friendly.
Hedgehogs are undergoing really concerning declines, but managing gardens for wildlife, for hedgehogs, is a really easy way that we can try and improve the situation for them. So you can see there's some nice log piles, which are going to be great for encouraging all the invertebrates that hedgehogs are going to be eating. And you can pile them up in a sort of quite jumbled way, and they can also be really good for nesting as well, because hedgehogs like to have that sort of structure to build their nests under.
Solid fences and walls are a factor in hedgehog decline, as they block hogs from roaming the distances they need to forage for food.
You can see here a hole in the fence, labelled with a Hedgehog Highway plaque, and this is one of the most important things everyone can do to help hedgehogs, because an average hedgehog might roam a couple of kilometres in a night, so they really do need access to lots of people's gardens. There's loads of ways you can make sure hedgehogs can get in, so just lots of different access points, so gaps under gates, for example, are another really easy way of ensuring that they can actually get in to your garden.
One of the biggest threats to hedgehogs is commonplace in many of our gardens.
Chemicals, pesticides, slug pellets, things like that are generally going to be pretty bad for hedgehogs because they are killing all the invertebrates that they are relying on. Avoiding those is definitely going to help them. So ensuring that they do have access to gardens and having these wild areas that are going to be creating feeding and nesting habitats for them is an amazing and a really easy way for everyone to help our local hedgehog populations.
Back with the Amazing Grace team, there's good news. The little hog that Anne rescued yesterday has made it through the night, and they've been able to tell that it's a boy.
Right, this is the little fella that we picked up yesterday, and we've named him Claude. His prickles are a lot calmer now. As you can see, as soon as you stroke him, he's unfolding and curling. Quite cute, isn't he? And you can see his little beady eyes if you look in there. We still have a problem with his front paw, so we're going to pop him into the vets and have him x-rayed to see what's going on there. But in every other way, he's looking really well. He's beautifully round now, so we've lost all that sunken impression that we had here and all the dents. So that is one healthy little hog. So I'm quite pleased, really. Claude is doing really well.
With such a good response to his initial treatment, Anne wants to take Claude to the vets right away so his leg can also get sorted.
Hi, Jill.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
I have here a hedgehog. His name is Claude. There seems to be an issue with his feet.
Okay. Has he eaten as well?
He did eat yesterday, yeah, but only a small amount.
So his jaw looks fine. They quite often get injuries to their eyes and ears as well.
He's got a couple of ticks there, and there's some small ones just around his eyes.
Yeah, he's covered in ticks. Ticks can be a real problem when there's a lot of them anyway, because they suck blood, so they can cause anemia and debilitating disease, basically. So we'll just try and get all of these off him. It's a bit fiddly because these are tiny ones. OK, so we're just going to go through and feel down each one of the legs, really, and make sure that all the joints articulate correctly and there's no obvious fractures. It feels fine. It's the left one you're worried about, yeah?
Yeah, it is, but he's not moving properly at the front, and I did wonder about both of them. He was found by the side of the road, so he could have been sort of tumbled or something.
There does look like there's some redness over both of his elbows, maybe just bruising. But yeah, I think let's take x-rays of the whole body and see.
If Claude did take a tumble from a car, having just a damaged leg makes him one lucky hog. Road traffic accidents claim tens of thousands of hedgehog lives every year.
OK, so this is his good leg, this is his bad leg. I think there is a little fracture line here in the ulna of his bad leg. But it's well aligned, and I'd be inclined just to cage rest him and put him on painkillers and let it heal. We can use some of the dog and cat drugs that we use, and they're really effective. These creatures are amazingly robust. I mean, they just get on with it. But yeah, we'll make sure he's comfortable.
Bless him.
As night falls over Amazing Grace, the hedgehog's day begins. A good scoff is high on a hog's agenda, and their forever twitching nose can sniff dinner out 3 centimetres below the surface. If they're lucky, they can chomp their way through 100 caterpillars a night. This chap, however, has love on his mind. He circles the female, making snorting and puffing noises, and gives her the odd nudge, all in an attempt to woo her. But she's going to make Casanova work hard for her attentions. It's going to be a long old night for him.
If you want to watch a hedgehog's secret life, you need to stay up late. And Anne does just that in the bottom of her garden.
Anne's rigged her garden with cameras, and she camps out in her garage, watching what the hedgehogs get up to.
Oh, look at this.
Come and join me, take a seat.
You've got your own hog spotting hideaway. Oh, thank you, my own bucket. Perfect.
Doesn't everyone do this at night?
No. You spend all day at work looking after hedgehogs, and then you come home and you come out to your shed and you watch more hedgehogs?
Yeah, I do, but these are wild ones.
This is an amazing setup you've got here. How many cameras have you got in your garden?
I've got 7 cameras out there. 6 are in nesting boxes, and then 1 is on this sort of vegetable patch area.
This is like Big Brother, but for hedgehogs.
Yeah, it probably is a little bit like that, but I love it. Oh, look.
Oh, yes. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
that's a hedgehog. It's going into the pond.
Yeah, the pond's it's about sort of 2 or 3 inches deep, but it's so overgrown here, you can walk on it. I do put bowls out, but they seem to prefer this water. That seems to be quite a popular thing.
Do you think it's drinking?
Yeah, they drink, and there's also sometimes they find little insects.
That's really interesting. I guess this really proves what you were saying about the fact that a lot of the hedgehogs that come in this time of year are dehydrated. They're thirsty. They need a water source, and I guess, you know, you're kind of seeing it here.
They definitely drink a lot of water.
Do you do anything else to encourage the hedgehogs in, and do you feed them?
Yeah, I do, and I've started feeding right the way through the year. So I'll use cat food and dog food. I tend to use the biscuits rather than the sticky foods, and I do use meat and peanuts too. Interestingly, you can have food out, but they'll still eat all the bugs, and they'll still be foraging.
So it's a supplement, if anything.
Yes. Oh, look.
Oh, we have another one.
There's another one here.
This one's followed almost exactly the path of the other one.
Do you think he can follow a scent?
That's definitely what's happening. Definitely.
Wow.
Because, I mean, they are so driven by their sense of smell, aren't they? And it was absolutely precise. It wandered the exact trail of the other, didn't it?
Interesting.
That's really interesting. Well, I guess we're in breeding season, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, so what's happening here?
Well, so the larger animals come right down alongside the smaller one that was in place before. I mean, it looks like...
Like having a new romance.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh! That was a
Is he
bit
falling
of a
off the
splash.
ladder?
And his little legs kicking. Oh, it was wonderful.
Hope he's going to be better at mating than he is at walking down the ladder.
OK, all right. I admit it. I'm converted. I'm totally hooked. I thought you were completely crazy to begin with, but this is it. I'm setting up my own garage with a hedgehog
It's amazing, isn't it? The things that are out in your garden at night.
So depending on how receptive the female is, these things can go on for a very, very long time. And right now, I think she's playing hard to get. Not surprisingly, he's given up for the night. I think food is more important than his libido right now. The hedgehog's been around for at least 15 million years and has been voted the UK's favourite wild animal. Looking at this little guy, it's not hard to see why. It's time for us to start thinking about how best to protect this vulnerable, valuable little creature.
At Amazing Grace in Windlesham, it's been a few days since they rescued Hedgehog Claude. He was severely dehydrated, underweight, and had a small fracture to his right leg. So I've come to check on his progress.
So this is Claude.
He's doing incredibly well. He's eating really well. His weight's up. Obviously, his leg is still broken, so we're going to x-ray him next week to make sure that that's fusing and in the right position. He's walking pretty well on the other 3 legs, and he's feeding properly.
So Claude was 320 grams when he came in, which is way too light. Should we see where he is now? Here we go. So he's put on 60 grams.
386. I'm really pleased with that.
It may not sound like much, but that's kind of 15% of his body weight, isn't it?
That's a massive difference.
Massive in a week. What a transformation. Just the condition of his spines and the fact that the eyes don't seem so recessed anymore. I mean, he just looks like a healthy hog now.
Yeah, he looks incredible. I mean, last week he was really in a bad way. So this is like a classic case of a little bit of intervention can change everything for him.
That is fantastic.
And Claude isn't the only hog who, under Anne's care, is thriving. It's been 2 weeks since baby Natalie arrived at the centre, and she's doubled in size.
She's such a beautiful creature.
Today, she has a visit from Brian.
So, Anne, how are we doing? How is Natalie?
She's doing really well now. She's quite feisty. She's got loads of attitude.
Whoa.
She's got lots of energy.
Yeah.
Very different to that little baby that came in. She's very chubby, and if she wasn't so chubby, she'd be able to curl up properly. So she can kind of curl a little bit. Her eyes are open now, and you can see she's constantly twitching her nose, looking for food, smelling for things. She's starting to look like a mini adult.
A little bit shaky on her back legs, but just because she's learning to walk.
Yeah. They're very rubbery at the moment, as you can see, a bit like elastic bands in some ways.
Oh!
Natalie arrived at the centre just days old after being found under a railway sleeper, and her survival hung in the balance.
She's going to make it now, and we weren't sure, were we?
No, it was really touch and go at the beginning.
Yeah, it's funny when you think she looks quite defenceless, but you then think, how long is the human baby defenceless? About 50 times as long. So left to their own devices, without anything bothering them, they're very well adapted to surviving.
Up until now, Anne's been feeding Natalie every 2.5 hours, but her sleepless nights may soon be over.
I'm really excited because today she's eaten for the first time. Hooray! So hopefully tonight I will get a few hours sleep, and the next few weeks we'll see her eating properly, and then she'll be gone. She's only here for a short window, and it has been sleepless and it's very tiring, but so worth it. So worth it.
So, Anne, what's the plan with Natalie now?
Well, she's about another 1.5 to 2 weeks weaning her, so her diet will change quite a lot. And then we'll start putting her outside during the day until she starts getting used to the temperature.
In a run?
Yep, in one of the runs that are here. And within about 6 weeks, she'll be out there permanently. She'll go back to the wild. She may stay on this estate. They're all, they're all wild here. What do you think? Shall we keep her?
She might enjoy the vegetable patch.
She'd love the veggie patch. I think that's where she should go. But she'll definitely be going back to the wild. Where she belongs, where she should be.
You're very, very cute, you are. You're a very good advert for looking after Britain's hedgehogs, I think. I don't think anyone could resist you, little Natalie.
Natalie still has some growing to do before she's ready to go it alone. But for one chap, the time has come for him to return home.
Hey, Nigel, how are we going?
Good, thanks, Steve. Yes.
Wow, it's looking great.
This is Ernie.
Ernie is one round, happy, healthy-looking hog. Look at that. It's heavy.
He is. I think he's around 800 grams.
800
so he's a really good weight for a male hedgehog. He's been with us for 3 or 4 months now. He actually came in with a bad leg. He also had ringworm, 1 or 2 other things when he arrived with us. So he's had an awful lot of trials and tribulations over the winter. But as you see, now he's a fit and healthy-looking hedgehog who's getting ready to go back home.
And that is what this is all about.
Absolutely. This is everything we do it for. Every hog in here, it's Ernie's day today, but they'll all get their day.
Today is Ernie's day, as a dribble of snot trickles off his nose. You have no idea of the gravitas of the situation, do you, Ernie? Seriously.
If possible, the team likes to release the hogs back to where they were found. And luckily for Ernie, his hog habitat has been thoroughly checked and passes as the perfect environment.
Right.
The moment Ernie's been waiting for.
Yeah, me too. Nigel, do you mind if I do the honours?
No.
There he is. So, Nigel, Ernie was found no more than a stone's throw away from where we are right
No, really
now.
local to here, so it's the ideal thing to put them back into the habitat where they've come from. It's an ideal environment here because we have cover, we have leaf litter, we have things like that. So it's going to be a perfect place for him to snuffle around, get his bearings, and, he'll get back into what was his old life very, very soon.
So I feel like I've seen the whole story now. I've seen them come in injured, I've seen them being treated, and now I get to see the real
This
diamond.
is the bit that really makes it, and then encourage other people to really appreciate hedgehogs and love them as much as we do.
I think over the course of working here, I've learnt so much about hedgehogs. Really they have stolen a piece of my heart. And it's not surprising. Hedgehogs are such a charismatic animal. They're so lovable. But they also have an incredibly important role to play in the environment.
And their future is very much in our hands. Okay, Ernie, time to break free.
Takes a little while for them to get going, but once they it's all about smell and scent with them, so as you can see, he's starting to settle now and he's looking really back home.
Perfect.
For tiny felines suffering from flu, it's situation critical next tonight in new Joe Brand's Cats and Kittens. An hour later, Ben Fogle's heading back to Restoration Island to catch up with his first wild man 5 years on in brand new Return to the Wild.